From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Ahmed Ramadan. Faith leaders in Ohio urge Governor DeWine to free Imam Aean Sleman, a respected chaplain detained after his asylum was revoked. This and more on today's show. Stay tuned. Developers of Epic City in Texas say their project will continue despite a new state law signed by Governor Greg Abbott. The law bans religious restrictions in property sales and took effect on September 1st. Epic City is the proposed 402-acre community outside the city of Josephine, northeast of Dallas. Backed by the East Plano Islamic Center, or EPIC, the plan includes more than 1,000 homes, apartments, shops, a mosque, a faith-based school, and senior living facilities. Abbott and state lawmakers claim the project was designed to exclude non-Muslims. However, Epic City's lawyer, Dan Caudill, called those claims false, saying the community was never intended to be for Muslims only. He said prospective buyers are professionals such as doctors, lawyers, and engineers seeking housing. Epic City leaders insist the project is moving forward. Catholic leaders joined other faith groups in Ohio to deliver a letter to Governor Mike DeWine, urging him to help free Imam Aean Sleman. More than 1,100 people signed the appeal, saying his detention is unjust. Supporters describe Sleman as a respected chaplain who served at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and local mosques. He is also known for his interfaith work in Cincinnati. Sleman was detained by immigration agents in July after his asylum was revoked. He had fled persecution in Egypt and won asylum in 2018. Officials later cited ties to a charity linked to the Muslim Brotherhood, though the group is not banned in the U.S. At a rally outside Ohio State House, Dominican sister Gemma Dahl said the case is a test of moral values. Sleman's next court hearing is September 25th. Fox News host Brian Kilmeade is facing fierce backlash after suggesting killing homeless people. Kilmeade said they should be executed with involuntary lethal injection. He made the comment during Fox and Friends while discussing a murder case involving a mentally ill homeless man. Advocates, faith leaders, and civil rights groups have condemned his remark as dangerous and dehumanizing. Kilmeade has since apologized for his comments. Donald Whitehead of the National Coalition for the Homeless called for Kilmeade's resignation, saying the comment showed a lack of human compassion. On social media, observers pointed out the double standard of MSNBC recently firing a contributor for criticizing assassinated right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, while Fox has taken no action against Kilmeade. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has endorsed Democratic candidate Zoran Mamdani for mayor of New York City. She announced her support on social media, saying the city needs a leader who will stand up to President Donald Trump and make life more affordable. Hochul later explained in an op-ed in the New York Times on Sunday that while she does not always agree with Mamdani, she trusts him to resist what she called Trump's abhorrent and destructive policies. Hochul praised Mamdani's courage and optimism, saying he can guide the city through its challenges. She stressed that they would work together to confront Trump's agenda with urgency, conviction, and defiance. The governor added that anyone influenced by Trump is compromised from the start. President Donald Trump says a man accused of beheading his co-worker in Texas will face the fullest extent of the law. Trump posted on Truth Social that the suspect, Yordanis Cobas Martinez, a Cuban national, should never have been in our country. He said the 37-year-old has a violent record, including child sex abuse and assault. Trump blamed former President Joe Biden for his policies that allowed his release. Police say Cobas Martinez attacked 50-year-old Chandra Nagamalaya, a Dallas motel manager, with a machete during a dispute. The killing happened in front of the victim's wife and son. Officers arrested the suspect at the scene while he was still covered in blood and carrying the machete. He later confessed to the crime. Trump said the suspect will be charged with first-degree murder. Dallas police confirmed he faces capital murder charges and is being held in an immigration detainer. The case has sparked national outrage. The House Ethics Committee has refused to investigate Arizona Republican John Gillette after he called Muslims savages and terrorists online. Committee Chair Lupe Diaz dismissed Democratic complaints claiming free speech protections. Gillette has repeatedly doubled down, insisting Muslim immigrants push Sharia law and undermine American culture. Democrats blasted the decision, saying it normalizes Islamophobia and ignores Arizona's history of hate-driven violence. The move stands in stark contrast to actions by the Trump administration, which vowed to punish any foreigner who mocked the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Arizona Representative Rachel Hochul demanded Tucson officials be fired over their online remarks about Kirk, who was known to be Islamophobic. Experts say the selective outrage shows a clear double standard, with harsh penalties for critics of conservative figure, but no accountability for a lawmaker spewing hatred against Muslim Americans. Paramount Pictures is breaking ranks, standing apart from hundreds of actors and filmmakers calling for a boycott of Israeli film institutions over the genocide in Gaza. Details coming up after the break. Welcome back. Over the weekend, Israeli soldiers killed at least 130 Palestinians in attacks across Gaza. Most of the victims were in Gaza City, where entire families were buried under the rubble. Since dawn Monday, hospitals reported at least 51 more killed, including 6-year-old twins and a journalist. Israeli airstrikes hit homes, tents sheltering displaced people, and crowds waiting for food. Israeli soldiers shot 5 Palestinians dead while they were waiting in line for aid near Khan Yunis. In the past 24 hours, 3 more were killed and 47 wounded while seeking supplies. The health ministry says Israel injured 346 people in just 2 days. Medical sources told Al Jazeera and Anadolu news agency that Israeli fire hit civilians in Khan Yunis and Gaza City, killing women, children, and the disabled. Israel has killed over 65,000 Palestinians since October 2023, most of them children, women, and the elderly, with projections expecting the actual number to be in the hundreds of thousands. The Israeli government says 20,000 Israeli soldiers and officers have been wounded in that time, and officials say they are monitoring the conditions of 31,000 troops with mental health issues. 3 more Palestinians have died from starvation in Gaza in the past 24 hours, according to the health ministry. This brings the famine-linked toll since October 2023 to 425 people, including 145 children, due to Israel's ongoing blockade, which has cut off food and essential supplies to the territory since March 2nd. Last month, the UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase Classification confirmed that famine had already gripped northern Gaza. The group also warned the crisis could spread if the blockade continues. Aid groups say the situation is worsening daily. Families are left with little to no food, and hospitals are overwhelmed with malnourished patients. Under international law, including the Geneva Conventions and the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, deliberately starving civilians is defined as a war crime of collective punishment. International doctors working in Gaza say they are seeing chilling patterns of children shot in the head and chest by Israeli soldiers. A Dutch newspaper investigation found that at least 114 children aged 15 or younger have been treated for single gunshot wounds in hospitals and clinics since late 2023. Most of the children died. 17 doctors and a nurse from the US, UK, Australia, Canada, and the Netherlands described similar cases across 10 medical facilities. One US trauma surgeon said he saw 4 boys under 10 with identical head wounds within 2 days at Gaza's European hospital. He later treated 9 more children with the same injuries in less than 2 weeks. Forensic experts told the newspaper the uniform pattern suggests aim fired from Israeli snipers or drones. Paramount Pictures has broken ranks with hundreds of leading film figures calling for a boycott of Israeli film institutions over the genocide in Gaza. The New York Times reports that Paramount, under new owner David Ellison, has become the first major Hollywood studio to oppose the boycott. Ellison's father, Oracle billionaire Larry Ellison, is the largest private funder of the Israeli military. He is also a close ally of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In May, more than 350 actors and directors, including Richard Gere, Susan Sarandon, and Javier Bardem, signed an open letter during the Cannes Film Festival. Published in France's Liberation, it condemned silence over Israel's bombing campaign and honored Fatima Hassouna, a 25-year-old Gaza photojournalist killed in an Israeli airstrike. She was killed just a day after a Cannes documentary about her life was announced. Arab and Islamic leaders gathered in Qatar's capital Doha on Monday for an emergency summit chaired by the country's leader Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. They condemned Israel's September 9 attack on Qatar as a flagrant act of aggression against all Arab and Muslim states. The summit's final communiqué declared an attack on one state is an attack on all and vowed solidarity with Qatar. Leaders urged Israel's suspension from the United Nations for violating its charter obligations. They called for sanctions, arms embargoes, and cutting diplomatic and economic ties to end what they called Israel's policy of impunity. The summit mandated member states to enforce international criminal court arrest warrants against Israeli officials and press compliance with International Court of Justice rulings in the Gaza genocide case. Starvation and blockade in Gaza were described as full-fledged war crimes. They announced an Arab-Islamic Reconstruction plan for Gaza backed by a donor conference in Cairo. The communiqué also reaffirmed support for Palestinian UN membership, recognition of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital. It also reaffirmed support for the historic Hashemite custodianship exercised by Jordan over the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem. Leaders stressed that peace cannot come through violence or targeting mediators, but only by ending the occupation. Heavy rains have struck central Sudan, displacing more than 4,200 people and destroying hundreds of homes. The International Organization for Migration says the flooding hit al-Qura locality in Al Jazeera state on Friday. 6 villages were affected and at least 850 families lost their homes. Field team reported 550 houses destroyed, with displaced families sheltering in open areas. Sudan suffers seasonal rains and flooding between June and October, but this year's disaster comes as the country is already torn apart by war. The conflict between the army and the Rapid Support Forces militia has raged since April 2023. Tens of thousands have been killed and millions displaced. Aid agencies warn that the combination of war and climate disasters is pushing Sudan's people to the brink. Artificial intelligence may soon help doctors stop blindness before it happens. Researchers in London trained AI on more than 36,000 eye scans to spot which patients with keratoconus need urgent treatment. Keratoconus is a disease where the cornea, the eye's clear front layer, bulges outward. It usually begins in teens or young adults and can lead to corneal transplants if untreated. Until now, doctors could only monitor patients and wait to see if the disease worsened. The new AI tool can predict from the first scan whether a patient will need treatment. That means fewer unnecessary procedures and earlier care for those at risk. Treatment, known as cross-linking, uses ultraviolet light and vitamin B2 drops to strengthen the cornea. It works in more than 95% of cases. Experts say this breakthrough could save eyesight, reduce transplants, and reshape how eye doctors manage patients. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.